Hi everyone, today I'm going to be going over my observation analysis in which I analyze the Instagram pages of fraternities and sororities to kind of get a better understanding as to what they are saying about masculinity and femininity. So, the whole purpose of this is we're understanding a little bit more about the college experience. Fraternities and sororities are seen as a major pillar of the college experience. Many organizations have been around for over 100 years, each organization, and so they've really sort of concreted themselves in our idea of what makes the college experience. They're seen all over TV shows, all over movies, as well as in other forms of media. They've also been seen as a sort of promotion of feminine and masculine stereotypes. In recent years, there's been a big push for these organizations to become much more diverse and inclusive in their membership than they have historically been. So also looking at the way that their Instagram accounts portray this will also help. So with social media being so widespread and heavily used within fraternities and sororities, it begs the question, what message about masculinity and femininity are these organizations sending? So first, let's do some quick vocabulary in a way. So we have CPH and IFC Greek letter organizations. CPH stands for College Panhellenic Council, which is a total of 26 organizations, and IFC stands for Interfraternity Council, which is a total of 57 organizations, including associate partners. All of these organizations are historically white, which means that they were all founded by people who were white. So why Greek letter organizations? Why focus? Why study them? Well, being a member of a Greek letter organization, it's given me a lot of insight into the stereotypes that are present within these organizations, as well as the way in which they promote a white heteronormative idea of femininity and masculinity. So some questions to really think about are what is being done to combat these stereotypes? Is it really how it is on TV shows and movies? And are all of these stereotypes true? So really what I'm looking into are fraternities and sororities adhering to the stereotypes of femininity and masculinity based solely on what they are showing on their Instagram pages. So the methods that I used for selecting the universities as well as selecting the Greek letter organizations are as followed. I selected 3 different schools that differ based on their undergraduate student population. This was because when it comes to the membership of fraternities and sororities, typically they only focus on undergraduate population, so that's why that is the method. So a small university would be under 10,000 students. In this case, I chose Butler University. A medium-sized university would be under 30,000 students, in which I chose George Washington University. And a large university would be classified as over 30,000, in which I chose the University of Michigan. Now, in selecting the Greek letter organizations, I had to cross-reference which organizations were present on each university. And of those cross-referencing, I selected 2 overlapping sororities and fraternities. So on the screen, it'll show that I chose the sororities Alpha Phi and Kappa Kappa Gamma, and the fraternities Beta Theta Pi and Delta Tau Delta, as well as the list of the chapter names. So when it came to collecting the images being used in this presentation, they were all taken as the first post that was on their Instagram page as of November 11th, 2021, and then scrolled back to a post from late September 2021. So privilege in the pose, this is one of the main findings. There are 3 main findings. So let's talk about how privilege is related to everything that I've seen in these posts. So the people featured within these posts, within the pictures on the Instagram pages, do seem to be following along with the stereotype of what is considered hegemonic when it comes to masculinity and femininity. So we see a lot of white, blonde for women, able-bodied, thin/athletic body type, and conventionally attractive people. And I put here that they appear. These are appeared traits because there is no way to tell with 100% certainty whether or not a person is white or not. So out of all of the photos that I looked at, all of the photos that I had chosen, only 3 of the photos appeared to have people of color within them. Now, there is a strong link between being white and what is and the stereotypical traits associated with hegemonic femininity and masculinity. So power is coming from looks here. It's not coming necessarily from gender, since these organizations are already separated by gender. The power is then coming from how do you fit the hegemonic type based on every other category. So some images that we see here is from Alpha Phi at Butler University, Beta Theta Pi at Michigan, and Delta Tau Delta at Michigan. We can see here that for the most part, these people are following along the lines of what is considered privilege in terms of looks. From the Alpha Phi post, we see two women who look conventionally attractive, putting on makeup, both are blonde. That's what we see in that image. In the next image, we see, for Beta Theta Pi, we see men who look to be mostly white. We see one member who is a person of color. And then in the Michigan post, for Delta Tau Delta, we see a family, but we also see people who might not be white. We see people who come across as people of color, which seem to be the anomaly in the Michigan Instagram page. So next we're going to get into hegemonic femininity, which is the second trend that I saw in these images. So the feedback seen on these images, which is all based on gender performance in the form of comments and likes, as well as other engagement with the post. There was a lot of positive feedback, and positive feedback means that whatever the person is portraying in terms of gender is being done correctly. It's sort of a reinforcement of, oh, if I pose like this or I post something like this and I get a lot of likes, I should do it more. I should do it again. So some poses for the poses play a lot into this, and there are some poses that are considered feminine and are seen a lot throughout all of the sororities' Instagram photos. So this can be the feminine touch, such as like showing off an object, showing off sunglasses, showing off a purse or something. Canting, like the bending of one's body or neck. Imbalance or not standing up completely straight. A license withdrawal as well, which can be not looking into the camera, showing extreme emotional expression, or even hiding one's face. And these were very common across all the Instagram pages. So most of the images that showed these poses received high numbers of likes and comments, and typically the comments were coming from other members or other women within the chapter. So the posts that are these are posts that are being made by women for women in order to promote an idea of having it all if one were to join a specific organization. This is something that is referred to a top tier mindset when it comes to sororities. So here's a few photo examples of the different sort of poses that sort of tip off to femininity. Up at the top, we see the two women with their arms out, they're smiling together. This would be considered intense emotional expression. The two women that are on the right side, we can see that they're canting. One woman has her head thrown back, she's bending her back a little bit, another woman is leaning into her. They're showing to be very emotionally close, very platonically intimate. We also see imbalance going on here. In the bottom post, we see a license withdrawal with one of the women not looking at the camera, but looking at her friend instead. So then now let's get into hybrid masculinity. So there is beginning to see a sort of shift from being less stoic and more softer when it comes to the posts of social media by men and by fraternity men. Photos are still showing a more traditional sense of what masculinity would be in terms of the poses, as well as what's going on within the photo, but the captions are where the softer side really begins to show. Some of the photos that are featured are a brother spotlight, promotion of philanthropy events, as well as positive engagement from other members of the chapter, as well as women from outside the chapter. This goes back into the whole idea of privilege that, well, if a woman is hegemonic femininity, she is wanting to appeal to the hegemonic masculinity. But this hybrid focuses on a balance of portraying masculinity with hints of stereotypical femininity. The idea that it's okay to be feminine, but not too much. This is a portrayal of personal, fraternal, and academic values within this fraternity setting. It's a means to combat the prevalent, harmful, but definitely not unwarranted stereotypes of aggression, homophobia, and racism within fraternities. Over on the right side, we see an image of fraternity men who are at a philanthropy event. Now, what's interesting about the image is that they're shirtless, they're posing in a very powerful stance. Yet, if we look at the caption of the photo, we see that it's dealing with philanthropy and the money being raised for their philanthropic partner. So we see that sort of balance between the masculinity and the softer side of fraternity life. The one right below it, we see a brother spotlight, which is showing a more emotional side of the brotherhood when it comes to being supportive of one another. And on the last photo, down at the bottom at the center, we see a formal pose. We see men posing in a very stoic, very up straight kind of way. It's the typical pose for a man when it comes to Instagram poses, but with a more happy feeling. They're talking about who was just elected for positions, and they even say in there, proud. It's again showing an emotional connection to their brothers. And if you look within this as well, you can see comments that are very supportive as well. So in conclusion, with each CPH and IFC organization being well over 100 years old, they have really embedded themselves within campus as well as the community when it comes to the display of masculinity and femininity and what it should really look like. When it comes to sororities, there's still a chosen portrayal of a sense of a hegemonic femininity throughout their social media posts. There's still a very stereotypical feel. However, this is also a very small observation. But with fraternities, we see the slow change towards becoming more progressive when their approach to masculinity. All in all, it's a very meticulous process that shows that gender stereotypes are still strong within these organizations. And while change appears to be more forward in fraternities, each organization is far from breaking these expectations. Thank you for listening. As a last note, here are all the sources from this study. Thank you all for watching.